Hello everybody, I'm Steve and welcome to Green Side Up. Now today is my seed sowing in September video because these are the plants that I'm going to be planting out for growing over winter during September. So we'll crack on with that in a minute, but I want to show you a couple of things in here first. A couple of earlier sowings, some successes and failures, and then we'll crack on with the actual seed sowing. So I'll show you them now. So in here we've got some kale. These were an earlier sowing and these were actually planted amongst the tomatoes that I had in here through the most part of this season. You can see some of the structure still here and the cucumbers are still here and fruiting. So I've left them in. Mixed results, a couple over there that have been attacked by caterpillars or slugs, or probably both. But there we go. And under the tomatoes that were in this bed over here, I planted Chinese cabbage. They failed, and they failed because it was too warm a weather when I planted them out, and they just withered and died, and probably too much shade as well. But I'd backed myself up and I'd planted some into modules out of the seed bed in the small tunnel, and that's the result. This was planted up just must be five or 6 days ago, I think. And this is in this protective hot box, and the lid, this lid here, can go on later in the season if it gets too cold for them, because this is my nemesis plant here, the Chinese cabbage at this time of the year. I'd like to grow this so that we can harvest this through the autumn towards winter and Christmas. Over here we've got carrots. These are also sown much earlier, and at the back of this carrot forest is where some of you remember I planted the Pak Choi. Now these were planted literally the day after the Chinese cabbage went under the tomatoes. They have failed also. You can see I've got a couple of plants there, but even one of them is now run into seed. So that's something else I need to address. I need to sow some more Pak Choi. It's all right, still plenty of time, but we'll get on with that and do that now. So I'm going to get on and sow these Pak Chois, and I've got, well, that's actually, this first one is a Tatsoi, and I'm hoping this seed's going to be all right because it's a good couple of years old now. But all these seed here, they're all from Premier Seeds Direct, which is where I presently buy most of my seed from, if I can get into this. And rather than sowing it in a seed bed, I'm going to sow them straight into modules this time. I'm aiming really for 1 or 2 seeds per cell here. But these are the container-wise cell trays. Many of you will already know about them. I've done a review on them because I think they're fantastic, super strong. They're gonna last a lifetime. A little bit more expensive than your normal plastic trays, but you know yourself, the plastic trays just last a year or two, and then they're done for. This is by far a better idea. So we'll see how these do. And I'll do the same. Say this, that's a mustard Tatsoi. And all I'm going to do is just cover these over lightly, and they'll go on the hanging shelf inside the polytunnel just to keep pests away. There we go, that should do it. And I'll do the same with these other two here as well. No need to film all of it. This is a cabbage Pak Choi green stem, and that's a cabbage Pak Choi red stem. So lovely for the differences in your stir fry, which is chiefly what I'll use them for. I'll take up, I mean for 2 of us, I'll take up 2 whole Pak Choi plants. I'll just rip them up, take up 2, and a few onions in a pan. Chop them up, in they go with maybe some carrots and some other bits and bobs, and that's a lovely tea. But yeah, and they'll replace the ones that died on me. Now in this tray I'm sowing spring onions, and I'm multi-sowing these modules, so I want 3, 4 or 5 really around there in each cell, and they'll grow as bunches. Now I'm not expecting to see a return on this until well into next year probably, but if we get a mild winter they could surprise me. You know, if it's mild all the way up to Christmas, we could be harvesting and eating these at Christmas. So it's yeah, it's a case of weather dependent really. But I'm sowing them now to eat going into next year. And that's pretty much another one sown, another one off the list. Right, this is my hanging shelf which I use to keep pests away from the actual seedlings. It's just hanging on a couple of ropes from the polytunnel frame, and on it I've got a grow bag tray which is just conveniently the right size to place those 4 trays I sowed in earlier. So the Ishikura bunching onions, the 2 Pak Chois and the Tatsoi. Now I can just water them like this and keep them moist so they won't run out of water, they won't dry out, hopefully during this warmer sort of weather. So there we go, there's a nice little tip for you. Convenient that they just sort of fit in there, it's almost like I planned it. Right, I'm going to sow a couple of lines, about 4 I think, 4 rows of spring cabbage now. And what I'll do with these is, I've got 2 different varieties, a Durham early and an April, and as they grow on the rows I'll thin them down and I will leave some in situ to grow on for spring cabbages for next year. The rest I'll hoof out, take out, I'll either compost them, put them into module trays or plant them elsewhere depending on the size that they grow to when I take them out. So this is it's a good strategy because it means if you've got holes in your bed somewhere, you know, you've got space, something's died or you've taken something out, it means that you've got plants to go in elsewhere. And that's really what this is all about all the time in gardening, is keeping as many of your spaces full as possible. So all I do is I've got a straight edge and I'll just make a little drill. I mean, this had Swedes and cabbage in up until a couple of days ago, but you know, keep it working, keep it going, and I'll be careful with this, there's not many seed. So a very thin sowing, pop those back in there. So that's the first line, and these will just want to be kept moist. Don't need to drench them, but you must keep them moist, and this compost on this no dig bed will dry out quickly if I'm not careful and don't keep my eye on things. So, I mean, these are brassicas and they do germinate incredibly easily and incredibly quickly, and I would expect to see these somewhere around 7 to 10 days. The soil's lovely and warm at the minute, so they should get away lovely. And I'll do the same with the next one, the April, as well, exactly the same. So this next lot of seeds are all things that are actually going to stay in this bed. I'm not going to hoof them out and pop them on or move them around anywhere. They're all just going to stay in here for the duration. And I'm also putting them here. This is where the sweet corn was earlier, and I've got a hot box down there that if I need to I can cover all of these all in one hit if the weather turns so bad and these are close to fruition, shall we say. And this first one I'm sowing is turnip. Now, if conditions are favourable, you should be able to get sort of turnips that are slightly smaller than a golf ball out in about 30 days. And as well, I know it's a September sowing video, but it's the end of August really, isn't it? So if the weather stays favourable, then by the end of October I could be harvesting and eating these as baby beets. No, sorry, that's wrong. I should be able to harvest them at the end of next month as baby turnips. And if the weather stays favourable, they can carry on growing and get to a larger size. So it's a good little crop to try if you've got seeds. Again, I'm doing 2 rows of all of these as we move along the bed. And again, favourable conditions. It's warm weather now, and it's nice steady warm weather for the rest of this week. So I mean, it's a really good time to get your seed box out and get sowing some seeds. Now, this one's a bit of a dodgy option. It's beetroot. Now normally this is, I think it's about a 90-day crop roughly. So we're looking at sort of November into December. That's all right. Weather's going to be grand, innit? We're going to have Indian summers. It's going to be fantastic. I can hardly wait. So get them in. Again, if they're only small, they're only small, but you know, it's a feed and it's something fresh off your plot at that time of year where you haven't necessarily got that. So it's always worth a punt. I mean, the weather might turn horrible at the end of September and I might lose all these, but given the amount I'm sowing and how cheap these seeds are from Premier Seeds Direct, it's probably cost me 10 pence. And a bit of soil that otherwise would remain empty anyway. So it's a gamble and it's one I'm happy to take. So there we go, there's a couple of rows of that. What have we got next? And all I've got to do really is warm enough, just keep the soil moist. Now actually here's one that I will transplant some of them. This is a rainbow chard. I will leave some in situ. Come on, let me in. Don't you hate that when packets are awkward and they won't let you in? Rainbow chard's a fantastic winter plant. I mean, I've had frost flatten these plants, literally, and they look terrible. But a couple of days of reasonable weather and they're back up and running and producing for you. And at the back end of winter going into spring, they can be 5 or 6 foot tall with a stem like that. Just every now and again, if you're not using it, just cut it back, keep it small. But that's a fantastic thing. It's another one of those things you can add to your stir fry along with your Pak Chois and your mustards. Actually, I'm going to sow 2 rows of that. But I do hear that at the moment supermarkets, especially in the cities, are struggling to get all the produce. You know, with the shortage of HGV drivers and people to pick crops, things are rotting in the fields apparently at the moment, and that's not good. So I'll do my best to find homes for all of these plants for people, and if it gives them a bit of winter greenery for free, then so be it, you know. More than happy to do that. Now, this next one, I think, is the one I need a pair of scissors for. Or do I? No, not quite. Well, this is a radish, and this is China Rose Winter. These radishes will grow about 3, 4, 5 inches long. Nice sort of rosy pink colour. But I'm growing them because it reminds me of, well, when I used to go into London. I used to go to a beer cellar down there, a proper German beer cellar. And they would have things like radishes with the beers, kind of a traditional thing there. And they were long, red ones. They're weird, the Germans like that. They have different habits than people in England. It's strange, that. I mean, we have a bag of cheese and onion crisps, and they eat radishes and pickles. So these will also stand well into winter. And then the last one is just plain old English radish. I'm laughing actually because I've said that and I realised what it is. Yeah, I thought so. It's a French breakfast radish, so it's not an English radish at all. But it's the type of radish we eat in England. What an idiot. And this last one, I'll just show you this palm sowing because I've had a number of people saying that they struggle with it. Or could I show it a bit clearer, explain what I'm doing? I've had emails about that. And with your palm, your hand, you've got that line, that crease across there, and you're holding the seed in here, and this forms a barrier with your finger up, stops the seed running out. And the moment you release it, you've got control to let the seeds fall down. Nothing more difficult than that. Do it 2 or 3 times and you'll soon have the hang of it. So there we go, that's that little bed sorted. And you may have noticed I didn't go all the way to the ends of both rows in case I need to put this on later. Those should be space around it for this hot box to go on if necessary. Just need to water that now and keep it moist. Now to follow on with everything that I've sown today, and I'm still going to sow some lettuce and salad stuffs in a minute, to follow it all on through the season, through the winter, and see how I get harvest, and for more ideas along these lines over the coming months, the best thing to do is to subscribe. It's free of charge. Yeah, I don't charge you a penny for it, but what it does do is it lets you know, because right next to the subscribe button there's a little bell. If you hit that and select all, every time I post a video you'll get notified. Steve's put one up and you're straight in there and you can follow along through the winter and see how I get through what are very cold winters up here in Cumbria. And sometimes, I mean, somebody told me last year it's Baltic here, and it can be, and we can get winds whipping through. So I've got all those challenges, and it's good to follow on to see how I manage and see all the tricks that are coming up. And if you can, while you're at it, please hit the like or the dislike button if you don't like it. That tells me that the content that I'm producing for you, you're either liking or you're not liking, and I can tailor this over time to make the content that much better for you. Now there's lots of other things coming up on the channel over this next 2 or 3 months, so keep your eye on that. And as I say, best way to keep an eye on all of that is just hit the subscribe button and job done. And thank you very much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming along, subscribing and following my journey with all your comments and your emails that I get. Love it all, I love you all, and this is brilliant, thank you. So I've got a standard seed tray here and full of sieved compost. I always sieve my compost because this puts my seed in direct contact with a very fine grain of compost, meaning that the seed is surrounded, there's no air pockets, and the seed gets evenly moist as I water it and try to grow it. You can get away with not sieving it if that's what you choose to do, but for me, that's how I was taught. So that's what I do, basically. Old habits die hard, and if something works, it is incredibly difficult to stop it. And this seed is probably my favourite lettuce seed of all time, and it's red Grenoble. Hopefully you can see that all right. I mean, I grow this all year round. It's a fantastic lettuce. Okay, what's this next one? This next one is Marvel of Four Seasons. So I'm not going mad on lettuce seeds. I normally do. I normally grow far too many and end up in a bit of a mess of them, being honest. Because as you've seen, I already grow far too many seeds as it is. But I can't resist it. I'm losing all my labels now as well. Oh well, Marvel of Four Seasons, that one. Really don't know where that's gone. Never mind, we'll find it. Anyway, this is a new seed company to me. I've just recently found out. It's called Growseed, and they're similar packaging to the Premier Seeds ones that I use a lot, and I tell everyone I use a lot. I've no affiliation with them, and I've used them for a long time. And there's very, very little information on there at all, except for the variety name and how many seeds are in the packet. It's all on their website, which, you know, if they're not printing it out, it keeps their costs down, and they can pass their costs on to you, their cheaper costs, should I say. Now, I've been looking at their website, and overall, they're smaller packet sizes than Premier Seeds, but don't let that put you off. There's still brilliant amount of seeds for what are the same price as Premier Seeds Direct, so you should certainly give them a look and have a look at them and say, that's 500 seeds in there and it's just over £1, you know, around £1. And that's another favourite of mine for winter density. So do go and have a look at Growseed and see what you think in comparison to the Premier Seeds, which, as you all know, is the one I've always used. I've got a few of their packets of seeds I'll be trying, and as we go into spring I'll get more and we'll see where we go from there. Now here's another one, another lettuce here. This is Rouge de Hiver, very, very similar to the red Grenoble. And if you're looking for this one, lettuce Rouge de Hiver, it's from Simpsons Seeds. They've got a good selection of lettuces over there, so I bought some off them twice this year, actually. I think I've been to them for seeds. Anyway, we'll have a few of them as well. And again, just palm sowing them. This is what I call the furrow sowing in a tray of sieve compost. You can see you can just get many varieties straight in there. Later on you can prick them out into whatever trays that you want to grow them on into, you know, cell trays or whatever. I'm looking for my coriander seeds. There we go. I also want to sow some more coriander. So again, another furrow. This is a massive seed packet, this. Big seeds. And there we go. I think that'll do me for this tray. There's a couple of mustards I want to put in there actually as well, but I'll do them another day. And it's just a case now of getting some compost. You know, covering them over. Water it. I'll put it on those trays in the hanging shelf. And in about, I don't know, 10 to 14 days time, I'll be pricking them out into modules and growing them on. I've got salad leaves down there. I've got a few salad plants, lettuces, and I've got some sugar snap peas over there. They've got shoots on them. You can put your pea shoots in them. as well in your salad. And don't forget, you can also, through this month, is also a good time if you want to get your broad beans sown, and the variety for that is Aquadulce. That's the favoured one for growing over winter. And you can also sow peas as well for an extra early crop next year if you want to do that. Me, I can wait. I don't bother doing them over winter. But if you want an extra early crop and you like your peas, then by all means sow some. But just be wary of frost if you're growing them outside, and be ready to cover them with a fleece just in case the frost is particularly hard. Well, I decided to go ahead and sow those last 3 seeds, and I've put in a Mizuna Red Streaks and a normal Mizuna and a Michihili. That's a cabbage. It's actually a Chinese cabbage. The variety I've got growing in the polytunnel now that I showed you in the hot box earlier is Wongbok. This is a different variety, Michihili, and I've never tried it before, but they're the 3 extras there just to finish that tray off. And then I can go and put this on the hanging shelf now. So although the seeds may have cost you 20 quid or more to buy, get all the packets together, I've probably sown no more than sort of 3 or 4 pounds worth of seeds today with the amounts that I've sown. I haven't sown whole packets in most cases, and I've only used half a bag of compost in the trays that I've done. I think there's 5 or 6 trays of compost that I've used. So, I mean, the cost really is negligible. I mean, as gardeners, you probably have the seeds anyway, but if you haven't, it's only very small cost if you use the cheaper companies. I say mostly I use the Premier Seeds Direct ones, and I'll put a link underneath for that. But I think everyone knows that one now. And this new company that I'm just trying, Growseed, I'll put a link underneath to their site as well. Go and have a look at them as well, because they've got some varieties that Premier Seeds don't have, and you can play between the two if you so choose, you know. But I would recommend going and having a look at them and seeing what you think anyway. But that's it for today. That's loads of seeds I've sown. I think it's probably over 20. And as I say, I'm going to do the rocket and the spinach tomorrow when I can find the seeds. It's probably over there in the seed box, but I've had enough for today, to be honest. Time to go home for my breakfast. But yeah, just have a go, get some seeds in the ground and get some plants growing over winter. I do foresee shortages in the shops coming up, and we won't be short, but it'd be nice if everybody else will be in the same boat and can grow their own veggies over winter. So anyway, that's it. Look after yourselves, everyone. Please stay safe, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Ta-ra now.